Hello friends, my name is Marines and I'm going to start off this video by asking for a little bit of patience. I've been toying with ideas on how to do my book wrap-ups for a while now, ever since I reconsidered my TBRs and I decided that that was going to change a little bit. At the heart of it, I just wanted to talk to you about the books that I was reading a little more frequently because I felt like when I grouped them up together, it could be rushed, and also some of the thoughts that I had got lost in just the jumble of so many books. I think I'm still going to do monthly videos about what I was reading, and in those videos just do some more fun things like rank everything that I read, talk about other fun categories or any themes that I noticed across the things that I was reading, as well as recommend some things based on what I was reading. That's all part of what I'm going to be trying out, and I'm asking for patience because I don't really know how this is going to work out. So I'm going to try this, see how it goes, and if I have to tweak things here and there, it's fine. On that note, here are books 1 through 3 for 2016. The first book I read this year was Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. When I read this book, I borrowed it in ebook format from the library, but then I went on to purchase a copy for myself because I loved it so much. This is a fantasy novel about a young girl named Sophie who thinks that she will fail miserably if she ever steps out of her life at a hat shop and goes to seek her own fate. However, one day she manages to anger the Witch of the Waste, and the witch puts a curse on her that makes her into an old lady. Sophie leaves the hat shop then to seek the famous wizard named Howl and see if he can reverse the curse. I'm just kind of surprised that it took me so long to read this story because it is right up my alley. The story is whimsical and has such bright characters. I love the character of Sophie to pieces, and I love how she can be stubborn and determined but at the same time unsure of herself, specifically because of the expectations that have been laid at her doorstep. I also found Sophie really funny, and I think something about the costume of being an old lady, of having that facade, gave Sophie permission to be a little bit unapologetic. She makes the most of a really bad thing and lives it up as a stubborn and cantankerous old lady because she's here, isn't she? The heart of the story really is Sophie's journey, and it's all tied up in this whimsy and wars and magic, but as I said, the heart for me really was finding yourself. Even if for Sophie it took such a drastic change to get her out the door, and for Howl it took someone pushing their way into his castle and cleaning every mess that he thought to make. Howl was not my favorite just because he's one of those stereotypical moody wizard types that you often find in fantasy, but you guys know how much I love stories about found families and the families you make, and I ended up appreciating Howl because he becomes part of Sophie's family. I ended up giving this book 5 out of 5 stars. After I was done reading, I also watched the anime adaptation of the book, and I think watching it in such close proximity to my reading experience was a mistake, or I should really say that my expectations were a little bit skewed here because I was expecting an adaptation, and I think it's more accurate to say that this is a movie based on the characters and ideas in Diana Wynne Jones's book. The plot is of course abridged and reworked, but a lot of the times it felt like I was watching something that was so different from the book that I had just read. It's a disservice, I think, to the movie because it is very gorgeous and it captures the spirit and the whimsy of the book very well, but I just feel like I preferred the plot in the book and the way that I imagined the characters much more to what I was actually seeing in the adaptation. I will say that I have not stopped playing the theme song to Howl's Moving Castle since I watched this. It is now my study music. I play it all the time. It is gorgeous and I love it. Book number 2 was Shadowshaper by Daniel Jose Older. This I bought as an ebook because my library did not have any copies of it in any form, so I went ahead and purchased the ebook. I actually first heard about Older because he was on a panel with the illustrator from A Fine Dessert around the time that the controversy surrounding that book was really at its height. On that panel, he made some comments that made me want to just stand up and clap in a room by myself, and so I wanted to make it a point of reading some of his work. Shadowshaper is a fantasy novel set in Brooklyn, and our main character is Sierra Santiago. Sierra finds out that her family is connected to a special order of magical people called Shadowshapers, and these are people who basically connect with spirits through art and music. Someone is out to get the Shadowshapers, so Sierra is roped into figuring out what is happening and stopping it. I almost hate to use this trite expression, but I wanted to love this more than I did. I think the best things here were the characters and the initial explanation of the entire world. The story is relatively short and it moves so quickly that there isn't a lot of character development or world development. I did like the characterizations, however, and there was a lot there that I just saw and could relate to. There is a specific moment where Sierra confronts her aunt about some internalized prejudices or some symbolic violence, and that part really got to me because of how many times I had encountered that in my own community and how often you can see that there is some kind of racism in between different minorities and even in between one community itself. I just could not connect with the plot and what became the central mystery. It lacks some depth and it's a little bit difficult to explain, but it felt very patched together the way that the plot progressed. It felt like things were happening for the sake of happening without any real cohesion to the story. And I'm saying specifically this is how it felt to me and how it read, because I wouldn't be able to pinpoint anything that Older did to make it this way. It's just me and the plot kind of thing. It felt very, and magic happened, and then a ghost, suddenly a monster, and you know, this guy, a sociologist, comes out of, you know, stage left. I don't know, it just felt very, very patched together. I would definitely read from Older again because all of the potential was there, and I ended up giving this 3 out of 5 stars. Book number 3 was Career of Evil by Robert Galbraith, which I listened to in audiobook format and read in hardback. Both of those things I purchased in 2015. This is an adult mystery series penned by J.K. Rowling that follows a man named Cormoran Strike, who after serving some time in the army lost part of his leg and then goes on to open his own private investigation business. In the first book he hires a secretary of sorts named Robin, and then throughout the books we watch them take on different mysteries and also grow within their relationship as partners. Last year I binged the first 2 books of the Cormoran Strike series just before Career of Evil was released. I bought it right away and I started it pretty soon afterwards, but the tone was darker in Career of Evil and it was beginning to stress me out during a time where I was already really stressed with end of semester and end of the year and holidays and all of that craziness, so I put it aside. Later on I used an Audible credit to buy the audiobook in the hope that it would help me kind of get through it, so I was listening to it piece by piece until the beginning of this month when I just decided that I wanted to get through it and know what happened. I've been giving these books a very consistent 4 stars, and my opinion on one is my opinion on all of them. I love these characters so much, and there's something about Rowling's descriptive writing that just makes them come to life, and it makes me want to spend time with these people and be friends with these people. The mysteries are always interesting and they grab my attention, but I wouldn't say that they were amazing. They are very suspect heavy, and because I was reading this little by little, I always kind of forgot who was who, and towards the end, like, I was relatively sure that I knew, like, what was happening. Also, I know that there were some developments in this last book that left some fans cold, but I like it. So this was pretty consistent for me with the other 2. It was an interesting read. It just stressed me out a little bit because it is darker and we get points of view from the murderer in this story, which was really creepy. Some of the mystery and the central mystery kind of revolves around violence against women, and there is some misogyny also that we get from the point of view of this murderer, so that can be a little bit unsettling, and it was for me. So like I said, I was not in a place where I wanted to read something that was stressing me out. I had to wait a little bit longer, so maybe that's just me. I am very sensitive in some ways to those things, so if that is true for you as well, just make sure you're in the right headspace to kind of encounter that. So those were the first 3 books that I read in 2016. By the time this video goes up, I will have read the next 3, so you will see another video like this next week, assuming that this goes up and I like it. If you have read any of the books that I mentioned today, or if you want to read them or have any questions for me, let's chat down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys soon. Someone is out to get the shadow hunters. Did you guys see that though? Awful. No wonder I'm too tall today. I never record in shoes. Both of those things I purchased in 2005. Jesus.